Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Davinder Ojalla, the Lightworker Coach. So this channel is really dedicated to somatic practices and therapies to support your mental, emotional and physical health and well-being. So this is a 45-minute class every month, so do join me monthly as I cover different themes and topics. So this month we're going to be exploring the art of self-regulation. What is self-regulation? How do we self-regulate? And what are the consequences of not regulating? And what does that even mean? So self-regulation really is an essential part of health and well-being. Without being able to self-regulate, our mental, emotional and physical health and well-being will suffer. Self-regulation really is management of your emotional health and understand the process through which the emotional body creates, heals, transforms, sends messages, really communicates to you through the physical body. Emotions start within the physical body before they travel up to the mind. We often expect it to be the opposite way around. We often think we hear it within our mind first. But as you start to tune in, attunement is an essential part of self-regulation. Attunement, we start to sink deeper into the body. We're tuning in to what's happening in the present moment with the body, and that ability to fine tune our senses allows us to feel, and that's where we start to really understand. Emotions start within the body predominantly, deep within our cellular structure, and then they travel up towards the mind where we create a story and have a dialogue with them. Then we respond or react. So this is really the beauty of self-regulation and attunement, because we become much more confident at being able to shift gear and able to respond rather than react. So when we're creating scenarios in our life which are based from a dysregulated nervous system, disconnected from our emotions and our feelings, we create what we don't want. And so the art of learning to regulate our nervous systems guarantees more outcomes for you to get what you actually want, rather than pushing things away, rather than using the energy of resistance or fear and trauma. That energy only serves to push everything that your heart truly wants further and further away from you. Intimacy, love, connection. Self-regulation really is our ability to manage our emotions in the context that we're dealing with. So I want you just to feel and sense into that. So part of the practice of understanding self-regulation is being able to be present and still, to be more conscious and aware of words, feelings, frequencies, sensations and vibrations through the body. So we listen from the body. We understand from the body rather than the mind. So emotions live in the body. So self-regulation is absolutely key to our emotional and mental health. When we refer to mental health, really what we're referring to is emotional health. And I think soon enough we'll start to understand they're the same thing. Emotional health equals mental health. They're not separate. So it's absolutely critical that we learn how to self-regulate. And the key to learning how to self-regulate is attunement. One of the keys is attunement. So we're going to talk about attunement in a moment. Now, I've created you a PDF and a worksheet, which I'll pull up in a moment, and then you can download that and go through that at your own time. So firstly, just feel and sense right now in this moment, how does your body feel? Does it feel regulated or dysregulated? And how do you know? How do you know? So on a deeper level, you already know what it would feel like to feel fully regulated. And there are gradients here. So it's not black and white. And it fluctuates as well, from day to day, moment to moment, year to year, dependent on what's happening and how much trauma exists within the body. So one of the biggest blockages to a healthy, self-regulated adult is childhood trauma. Now, if our parents were of a safe attachment style, their self-regulation and ability to attune to our needs would allow them to respond to our needs and meet them where we're at. So that's attunement. Attunement means the ability, just like a tuning fork, you can feel and sense the vibration, the frequency, the emotions that you're tuning yourself to. And by that consciousness, that awareness, that ability to attune to another person, you can then make a powerful choice on how to respond. So self-regulation is not possible if you are not attuned to yourself or another. Without that attunement, you are going to be guessing or coming from the mind. Limited perspective. So how do we attune ourselves to somebody? So a healthy attachment style from our parents meant when we cried, they could attune to our feeling state. This is a felt sense somatically in the body. So they could tune in even to the frequency of the crying. Is this crying complete despair? Is this crying because of a fear of not feeling safe? Is this because a basic need for food has not been met? So that's attunement. And we attune by coming into the body. We attune to the other person. That creates a regulated nervous system in the child. because they will understand what self-regulation means as an adult. So if we've had confusing messages, an unhealthy attachment style, let's say a child cries and the adult smiles because the child is crying. So it hasn't attuned to the child, because the child is now confused with, I'm crying, I'm really upset, and you're smiling at me, because the adult was thinking, I'll smile to lift them up. That is invalidation. So they're invalidating what the child is feeling as opposed to attuning. So it doesn't mean we don't navigate towards that, but the first step, the connection and the intimacy, the safety, that foundation is built on the attunement. Was I heard? Was I met where I am? So the healthy way to attune to somebody is, if they are sad, you mirror. So you don't suddenly beam or hug them when they are feeling closed. If they're sad, your face will also mirror that, to say, I hear that. So you're attuning. And that helps you feel not alone. It helps you feel heard. It doesn't create that confusion of, I felt this, but my parents said I should feel happy. I felt this. I was told that I should, blah, blah, blah. I felt anger and I was told I should be accepting. So this all these messages create so much confusion that when we come into adulthood, we don't understand the messages. They're not syncing up. We're not regulated. So that's what dysregulation means. It means emotions and feelings are surfacing within you, but you're not understanding what they mean, or how to move out into the world, or how to meet the need, which is crucial. So what happens as an adult when we have an unhealthy attachment style from a parent? Perhaps they've been very dysregulated, they can't attune to us, they're not meeting our needs, they're not hearing our needs, they're not seeing our needs. So this isn't blame, because everything's conditioned, it's passed down. But how does that appear as an adult? So we have to, again, there are gradients in this, but we will either go towards what's called the anxious state or the avoidant. So I want you to feel and sense into, ooh, how do I show up? What are my patterns? When my emotions are surfacing, when my feelings are surfacing, and I'm not talking about when we're completely triggered or feeling explosive. That, when we're completely triggered, really explosive, that is deep, deep trauma work that is needed. But when we're perhaps feeling out of whack, feeling slightly triggered, slightly off, not quite understanding what we're feeling or sensing on a day-to-day basis, not understanding what the need is. And so you're being slightly triggered. Do you have the anxious style show itself, or the avoidant? So I'm going to give you some examples of anxious and avoidant. because they both can attract. And I had this today with one of my partners who's on the gradient of high avoidant, and I'm on the gradient of high anxious. And so neither right or wrong. Truth is down the middle. And so when we're overstimulated and dysregulated from the anxious perspective, we can be very good at recognizing what we're feeling. On a somatic level, we are straight there. We know we feel something. We can't run from it. It's there. It flares up. It's always there. We are so connected to our felt sense on such a deep level that sometimes we feel misunderstood, that we don't fit in. We feel too sensitive, too empathic, too much for people, because we're so aware of that felt sense. So if we're so aware of that felt sense, and that need is never being met, never regulated, of course the fear is going to rocket. If we weren't so aware of it, we wouldn't be aware of the fear and the anxiety. So they come as two sides of one coin. One of the other characteristics of the anxious is assuming there's nothing they can do, and they're at the mercy of this feeling or emotion. So often they think they just have to ride it out. And yes, you do have to ride it out, but not to the exclusivity of being in life and finding creative solutions. So the anxious can get very destabilized with the dysregulation. So just a tipping, just a notch, the anxious can feel that way more severely and harshly than the avoidant. And so this left undealt can lead to chronic anxiety and suicidal crisis just by being misunderstood or not knowing this is what's happening and this is why this is happening. So it's your felt sense is so deep, and that is also a gift. But we can start to feel really sucked in to the water and as if we're drowning, and we can drown in the waves. And the skill we need to learn is self-regulation and attunement, and then follow it through. We're going to go through that tonight. The anxious can also, and I talk from personal experience with this one, the anxious can also be extremely harsh and reactive towards the avoidant. Because they're opposite scale. So the avoidant can really trigger the anxious. And one way we tend to avoid that ourselves is becoming an avoidant of the avoidant. And we push them away, we judge them, rather than move in towards compassion and new self-regulation and attunement with them. So attunement is really focused on attuning ourselves to another person. And by attuning to another person, we then build that empathy and that compassion. So the avoidant. So a typical trait of the avoidant when dysregulated is, let's say they feel sad, but they don't understand why they feel sad. They can't find a reason for feeling sad. because they can't find a reason for feeling sad, they don't understand why they're feeling sad, they will just invalidate it. Oh, well, it's nothing. Oh, it must be because I ate the wrong thing this morning. Oh, I just go to the gym. Oh, etc., etc. So they find solutions, but very quickly. So they dismiss the feeling itself. So they don't stay present enough with the sadness to allow its full trauma cycle. Whereas the anxious stays with the trauma cycle way too long and loops and gets stuck and doesn't come around, just keeps going round and round and round until somebody pulls them out or they wake up to taking back more of their power and being able to regulate and move themselves out and not get sucked in. So they're both opposite scales. So the avoidant can also lack the felt sense, lack the body awareness, and lack the understanding that the emotions start in the body first. Emotions are felt in the body first and then travel into awareness within the mind. Not the opposite way around. We can do that, but it's not organic to us. So we can't really control what feelings and emotions arise because they arise from the body. And this is the beauty of somatic practices. You start to experience that your emotions are starting deep within your body before they move up. Okay, so the avoidant can be dismissive or unaware that they've started in the body first. They've gone straight up here. The anxious go straight into the body and then doesn't go up here. So this is where we have the mind-body union. They need to be in balance. Okay, another trait of the avoidant can be when feeling unsure about a feeling, say to themselves, oh, well, I must be wrong about it. Oh, I must be wrong about it. Oh, I've got it wrong. Oh, I think I felt this, but I'm not too sure. Oh, you must be right. Yeah, ignore what I'm feeling. It must be wrong because it doesn't make sense. Unaware that the process starts within the body again. So much of the time, until we stabilize and self-regulate, get curious and inquire, we don't always know why we're feeling because it doesn't make sense in the now. But that doesn't mean it's not valid. So this can cause overachieving and depression in the avoidant. And a way to overcome that, they can presume, well, I just need to over-exercise. I just need to control my food, control this, control this, control this, control this. And that doesn't mean the anxious doesn't do that as well, because fear can also drive those behaviors. So ways to navigate these are really important. So we need to understand how to compartmentalize things, in particular for the anxious. Usually when we're in a really heightened anxious state, we can't compartmentalize our thoughts, feelings, emotions. It all gets messy and muddled. So learning how to compartmentalize is super, super important. Okay, so we're going to go through some of the worksheets. So I'll put them into the library. Let's have a look. Okay, share screen. Okay, so self-regulation, the ability to manage your emotions in the context you are dealing with. And when we're dealing and working with the pain body and trauma, that's really ancestral, and it's coming from such deep cellular memory, deep wounding from the ancestral line. Our emotions can be very turbulent, very messy. And this is why somatic practices are so important, because we don't feel in context with anything when that level of emotion trauma is coming up. And so understanding, we need to learn how to slow the process down is going to build a level and foundation of safety and attunement that we didn't get as a child. And the parent self within us is what is needed here. So this is where the growth and the evolution comes in. We have to evolve our parent and our parenting of ourselves now, the act of self-care for ourselves, which is self-regulation. We are building a new parent that can attune itself to all our feelings and emotions. It's not going to happen overnight. This is a lifetime journey. You are becoming a parent to yourself. The child can only thrive if it feels safe and secure with your parenting skills. Without attunement, we do not have emotional connection and safety. If we do not have emotional connection and safety, we will have impaired mental health. We will be impacted. So to reverse that, it is our responsibility to reverse our mental health conditions by understanding our emotions, learning how to regulate them, learning how to attune to them, and learning how to shift gear, shift state, and stay connected. So self-regulation does not mean not showing, not feeling, nor minimizing or hijacking emotions. It's part of a lifelong process towards greater self-care, requiring a mature embodiment and understanding of attunement, enabling space for our authentic self to respond rather than react. I want you to really get this and hear this with your body. Emotions arise in the body before they arise in the conscious mind. We don't always get a choice on how we are feeling, but we do get a choice on how we will deal with and process what's coming up. What is left unprocessed, childhood trauma or lack of attunement from caregivers, does not go away. In many cases, it simply gets louder and louder until it screams. Creates havoc with your health and wellness, and your relationships suffer. A secure parent attachment style is connected to a sense of deep attunement to the child's needs. An insecure attachment leads to confusion over our own body's natural GPS system, which we all have, and often an inability to make sense of feelings and emotions, which I've already shared. So there's a reflection page where you can explore a situation, maybe journal a recent situation where you may not have been attuned to the other person, or somebody wasn't attuned to you. And think and feel and sense into what are the consequences of this. And I really encourage you to practice this month by attuning to others. So taking some of the focus away from you, we build balance by tuning to others. It brings us back to the heart. It brings us back to our humanity, back to compassion. And just notice, am I feeling this other person or this pet? Am I tuned into them? Am I tuning into them? And you're just exploring. There's no judgment. There's no right or wrong. This is a journey you're going to be on for a long time. So you're just exploring as the compassionate witness and the observer, using the techniques we do in MedYoga, meditation, and the somatic practices. This is why we're developing those tools. All these somatic practices we're doing is to bring you out into life and to feel safe, and that you can trust yourself and others. You will make mistakes, you will fall. But this is a school on earth and you have to attend. And you're moving up. And that can feel scary. Okay, so attunement. Learning to self-regulate, take care of yourself and others in the same way as a parent that was deeply attuned would. And when we do that, we unleash trapped chi, life force. And that is pure potential. That is creative energy. That's love. So don't be afraid of going into the place that feel really tangled up and knotty and messy. They are the path to creativity. They are the path to more flow and freedom. There's nothing wrong with you. Nothing. You are here to experience the contrast and allow it, understand it, build these skills, nourish it. This is what we're all learning here together during this great awakening, during these times. Nobody's on their own with this. We're all going through this process. We're all finding it's hard as one another. It's not easy, this journey at this level of consciousness. Okay, so practice 1. I'll go through each one. Name the feeling. Get into the habit of just naming the feeling. And if you say, well, I don't feel anything, I feel numb, that's a feeling. I feel nothing. I feel empty. I feel silly. I feel low. I feel hurt. I feel sad. I feel angry. I feel messy. I feel rejected. I feel unloved. Get into the habit of naming what you feel. That is the first step. That is the most important part of that foundation we wanted as a child. We didn't want it to be fixed or solved. Not straight away. Yes, we do want that, but not before we've been heard. So naming the feeling is your parent self saying, I hear you. And if we're not doing this for ourselves, we can often have an expectation that everybody else should be doing it for me and understanding. But they can't attune to you if you have a wall and resistance up to yourself. So the more you attune and listen and are able to name the feeling within you, and it's going to take time and practice, the more you're going to be able to attune to others. So we then start to magnetize and help each other heal. So we shift our focus to oneness. The more I can attune and feel, the more I will consider others. I know I can't do this healing journey on my own. It requires another human being. other human beings. So name the feeling. You might want to set a little alarm on your phone. I've got one that goes off 3 times a day, just a little notification saying, hey Dove, what are you feeling? And I always take time to check into the body. And this is where your authenticity also grows. Because so quickly the mind will say, I feel this. And it's not true. Until I drop down like, oh, I really wish I hadn't asked myself or my phone hadn't beeped. And this is where we compartmentalize. Maybe right now, I don't have the time or the space or the bandwidth, but it is my responsibility to schedule the time and space to go in and check and acknowledge and work through whatever did show up. So my suggestion would be purely to work on that for the first month or so. Work with your healer, your therapist, and explore the feelings. Journal, get to know them, ask them questions. Let them have their stories. You don't need to get caught up in the stories. Know their stories. But most importantly, naming the feeling gives you a sense of healthy detachment from them. So you can recognize by naming the feeling, it can't be me. I am not this feeling. I'm not the identity. And you'll often find when you name the feeling, you'll also be able to name the identity that you've created. That's either protecting the feeling or indulging in the feeling. Both are out of balance. And so truth is in the middle. We are the consciousness, we are the space, but we're also the experiencer. And so we want to be able to ride both on the earth plane. So practice 2, attune to the distress. So this is really the mirror. Attunement, tuning into what's going on for somebody else and allowing our internal state to respond in a balanced way to their state. When we do that, we get what we want more often. When we don't attune to somebody else, we don't get what we want. We reject, we push away, we isolate ourselves, we lock ourselves up into a prison. So on your sheet, when you do get time, explore that. What are you creating? And this is coming from the skill of attunement. Practice 3, recognize the need. So we name the feeling, we attune to the distress. We recognize the need. What is the need here? You can use the empathy mirror. So this is, as I mentioned before, somebody's in grief or sad. We don't make a joke or laugh or to try and shake them out of what they're feeling. We meet them, we acknowledge them where they're at. We validate what they're feeling. I hear you are feeling sad. I see you're grieving. I see you're hurt. You then move to the safety cocoon. So when we've recognized the need, and we can simply ask, what is it you might need right now? How can I help? What do you need? The safety cocoon. How can I make the other feel safe with me? Do I feel safe here? Do I need my own touch? Does the other person need a hand, perhaps on their shoulder? We move to 5, integrating and balancing our emotional and cognitive abilities. And so this is what the anxious can often neglect completely, the cognition. So usually they're very good at going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it stops. Then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, stops, and they keep looping. So the complete cycle is moving into the integration, the balance and the cognition. So this is when, okay, I'm feeling all this, I understand all this, I sense this, I know the need, I'm building the safety, and now I can come up. I don't stay stuck. I can now come up, use my cognition. And this is the balance of the emotional and the mental. You can come up. And lastly, 6, when we come through the body upwards rather than body down, we have more subconscious power available to us. So coming from body down, so you're going the right way as the anxious, you're just getting stuck. So going down and then up, we've accessed the heart energy, the compassion, the empathy, the safety is built through the body, the understanding, it's all built through the body, and then we move it into nudging it from the heart through these skills into a holistic solution. Without those pieces, 5, 6, we don't complete the trauma cycle, and this is what causes havoc in our nervous system, in our life, in our relationships, creates so much fear because there's no way out. And I often hear my clients say that, I feel there's no way out. And so we often look too wide and big. Well, my way out is this big, massive thing out there. Rather than, no, just come back to your life right now. What's happening here with the people here? And how can you bring this in here? One person, one step at a time. Not conquer the world. Not conquer everybody. Just choose and find 1 or 2 safe environments with people and practice there, practice with them, practice in therapy, practice with your pets. Okay, so we're starting with practice 1. What am I feeling? So you can use this PDF, you can print it off. What am I feeling? And to know what you're feeling, you need to come into the body. Where are you feeling it? What is the sensation? Get to know the sensation. Is it hot? Is it spiky? Is it dense? Is it heavy? Is it suffocating? Is it throbbing? And attune to it. Don't be afraid of attuning to the throbbing sensation or the piercing sensation. That's you saying, I'm not rejecting you. I'm not abandoning you. I'm not going to flee. I'm not running for the hills. I'm here for you. I'm attuning to you as you are. And then how can I integrate this? What somatic practice will help me stay with this feeling and not run, but not get lost and sink and lose myself completely in it? What somatic practice? Shaking, tremoring, rocking, being held, counselling, CBT, MedYoga, meditation, all the practices in MedYoga school. Explore, try different ones. So they restore, reset, can't remember what it's called now. Restore, rewire, and reset. That is 12 weeks of exploring different somatic practices. So you get to experience and play with all the different somatic practices, from candle gazing to balancing to bolster work to compassionate hugging, all the different practices. So you can just pick and choose. You have a toolkit. Eventually, some initially you'll resonate with and connect with, some you won't. But even if you find one or two that you really resonate with and connect with, those tools will allow you to come into that self-regulation, that ability to listen, comfort. So what am I feeling? How can I integrate with this feeling? And again, what is the emotional and cognitive solution here? And finally, what is it alerting me to? What is the feeling alerting me to? What need hasn't been met or isn't being met? What need was ignored or suppressed or denied as a child? How can I meet this authentically? Not by myself, because you probably can't. It's been buried for so long. You have to open up to it first and hear it, get to know it, and then step into the fear that, oh God, if I wasn't shown how, then I don't know how. Because often we ignore that and pretend we do know how. And we try all sorts. But the truth is, when we surrender into I don't know how, because I wasn't shown, we let ourselves off the hook and we open to potentials and possibilities and curiosity. Well, let's explore. And that takes the pressure off, but allows the right thing to come to you, because your energy opens rather than controls. Okay, I think that is it. Okay, so I am curious. We've got a couple of minutes for any questions or sharing. Anybody who wants to share, has any questions? Yes, okay, so I should be grateful. How many times is that mirrored back to us? So again, when we don't feel grateful, that's okay. You feel what you feel. You're not in charge of what you feel. Your body feels what it feels. Majority of the time, what you feel is coming from your ancestors' conditioning, not even yours. So what you feel is what you feel. But we have choice when we are self-regulated, when we're healthy in our regulation, when we're confident, conscious and aware. We then navigate towards choice. And we do that with affirming and acknowledging where we're at. I recognize I'm not feeling grateful right now. And that has a right to be here. I also recognize the need here. I didn't feel grateful because this is what I needed and I got this. That's understanding. So that made me feel dissatisfied. I can attune to feeling dissatisfied. That's okay. So what I needed was this. So the growth happens, the part we avoid is, well, that means I now have to speak up. I now have to share. In future, would you mind not blah, blah, blah? I don't feel that's what I need right now. But what I would really love is this. And we stay open to the rejection or the agreement. But we have given ourselves the opportunity to self-regulate through that process. We've heard ourselves, we've allowed. We haven't unvalidated ourselves. We haven't ignored ourselves. We haven't run. We haven't rejected. And we've come into the cognition. What is needed? What is the solution? Well, the solution is to ask for what you want, to set your boundary. Not from an aggressive perspective, but if you follow this system through your body, your boundaries won't be aggressive and forced. They will come from the needs of your body. So the person receiving that boundary will feel it coming from the needs of your body, which is a safe place for them to receive. So they will respond very differently because you've gone through the body up. Whereas when we're trying to just set everything from here, cognition, or just the body, we don't make sense because we are dysregulated. So they will pick up the dysregulation and then react to the dysregulation. And so you then have two people, polar opposites, dysregulated. One person has to move into regulation to create the shift. And the warrior chooses it to be themselves. Regardless of how dysregulated the other person is, your responsibility is to regulate yourself. Okay. So I will pop this recording in 48 hours. I will pop it into the members library so you have access to it. So each month we will go through a class or a practice on self-regulation, attunement, using one of the therapies we use in MedYoga school. So you've got a toolbox there and some classes, and I'll also put the PDF there for you to explore. And take your time with this. Please don't rush. Use the whole month to just explore, journal, re-watch the video as many times as you want to. You'll pick up different things at different times. You can always go back. But these little simple reminders, just doing them at your own pace, just help you re-steer for when you do hit that boulder. I know I do, and it's like, I just can't. I can't shift gear. I know I'm in gear 3. I know I should be in gear 5, and I just can't shift. And it's annoying for me, and it's annoying for everybody else around me. So just to have the tools to understand and the awareness of, that's why I'm not moving. I'm just staying in phases 1 to 4. And what is needed here is where the fear is. I have to move to 5 and 6. And there's the child screaming, I don't want to, I don't want to, I'd rather stay here. Because I've got used to this. This is what I was taught. I was taught dysregulation. Don't move me into a regulated state. I don't understand that. No matter how much we want that freedom and crave it, it's not normal for the child. The child doesn't trust it. Child doesn't know it. It's new. And so this is where, very so kindly and gently, we're integrating the soul self, the authentic self, with the part, the human self that is on this journey where it's messy. So to take away and to complete, I want you to notice, are you believing yourself to be just human? A personality, a human being? Or are you believing yourself to be just soul? What is needed is the balancing. You are both when you're on the earth school. The separation hurts. You are not just a human being. You are not just the soul. You are soul, but on the earth school, you are a soul that has put on clothing as a human being, and your soul wants to flow freely through your human being and express itself through your human being. Your human being needs to know it's loved and cared for. And the soul provides that self-regulation for us. It is the parent self. It's the authentic parent self that the child needs. So they're not separate. The more the soul lands into the body, the more the child matures into the potential of the human being, who can then act out in the world as a mature, powerful human being that is driven by soul. So this is the integration. So one step at a time, one step at a time. So this month, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? Just check in. What am I feeling? And as you sit there, just keep asking, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? And you'll find it might change. I'm feeling hot, or I'm feeling burny, or I'm feeling really hot, or I'm feeling scared, or I'm feeling anxious in my belly. You're feeling so much. Just label, then move on. Don't get stuck. Just keep moving. What am I feeling? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? Well done. Lovely. Lovely to spend this time with you, angels. Keep shining. You're doing amazing. I know it can feel quite treacherous out there right now as our souls land in our body, but they are landing. And it can be very turbulent, but keep going, keep going. We need you to keep going, keep rising. You're doing the work. You're doing the work. There's nothing more important for you to be doing other than what you're doing. Keep breathing. Love to you all. Mwah. Night, night.